So I recently made the move to South Africa, and honestly, everyone told me that I was crazy for not choosing Cape Town, but there is so much more to this country than Cape Town, so I wanted to explore it for myself and figure out where the best place is for me to live. My name is Michelle, and I make content on relocating and living abroad. If you're into this kind of stuff, just subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like this video as well. So I'm gonna start with Johannesburg, just because this is a city where a majority of international flights are coming into. But honestly, this was my least favorite of all of South Africa. It was extremely hustle and bustle. The city didn't feel very safe, especially as a foreigner, not knowing your way around. And it feels like you could definitely stumble into the wrong place at the wrong time. Johannesburg is the biggest city here in South Africa, and it is the economic hub of the country. And a lot of people do choose to live there for work opportunities. But if you are an expat here living in South Africa, a lot of you are going to be remote workers, and you'll have a little bit more flexibility on where you can choose to live in the country. Johannesburg is extremely high paced and definitely feels like a real metropolis compared to other South African cities that I visited. It's also landlocked and has no beach access and no ocean, and there are so many parts of South Africa that are along the coast, and I would definitely always choose to live by the ocean, so this is definitely a deal breaker for me. The cost of living is extremely cheap in Johannesburg compared to Western cities, with rent prices averaging from 12,000 to 25,000 Rand. I'll put the conversion up here for you into US dollar. And these are good areas in the northern parts of the city. I want to go back to safety because Johannesburg has a reputation for being a very unsafe place, and this is not for no reason. You definitely have to be aware of your surroundings here. You have to know which areas are safe to go and not to go, and majority of expats live in complexes or gated communities with security. And the lifestyle adjustment is real. You can't just walk around the streets like you would in other cities. The temperature in Johannesburg is pretty good year-round. They do get a little bit of a colder winter, but it doesn't get crazy, nothing like into the negatives or anything like that. So you're gonna be okay as long as you have the proper attire to wear. So Johannesburg is definitely for the career-focused people and people that are interested in making money. Anyone in business and finance is gonna wanna go there. Also people that aren't super bothered by not having access to the beach. And then it's just for people that wanna have that most city feel here in South Africa. So next up is Cape Town, and I keep hearing it's like one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and it absolutely was. Table Mountain is literally your daily backdrop. But it was very, very hectic and packed in Cape Town, and it really just wasn't for me. You couldn't drive through the city. There was so much traffic. There was a lot of foot traffic as well, and a lot of people on bikes, so you really had to be careful while you were driving in Cape Town. Parking was a hassle, but it is a very popular destination for expats living here in South Africa. You definitely have more of a safer feel in Cape Town, although there are areas you definitely need to avoid. You could feel that people were outside more, people felt a little bit more free there. I really enjoyed the wellness culture as well. Everyone was like walking, they were outside, they were working out, they were in shape. There's lots of restaurants with healthy food options. I definitely prefer the lifestyle in Cape Town, and I find it's more of like a kind of like a surfer ocean vibes. People are just kind of living their life. But Cape Town is the most expensive city in all of South Africa, with rent in safe areas ranging anywhere from 20,000 Rand to 50,000 Rand per month, which is absolutely crazy to live in South Africa. There's a lot of places in the world you can live for that price and not have to feel unsafe all the time. And I really don't think what you're paying versus what you get is really worth it. Table Mountain is absolutely beautiful, but I can only look at it for so long. Going out to eat was also extremely pricey in Cape Town. I was really surprised to see prices in Cape Town and how they were comparable to Western cities. So although Cape Town is a lot safer than Johannesburg, they still have a lot of issues there. In areas like the Cape Flats, there's serious gang-related issues, and it's definitely not safe in all parts of Cape Town. So you kind of need to stick to the coast, I think, is the safest areas in Cape Town. As long as you're somewhere by the water, you're generally okay, at least in my opinion. But you still need some general awareness. There's still petty theft. There's still things that could happen to you. So you need to be precautious and you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times. The weather in Cape Town is honestly not bad. They have warm, dry summers and mild, wet winters. But one thing I will warn you of is wind. Wind is real here in South Africa, and honestly, everywhere I've been, there's been very strong winds. I literally was woken up out of my sleep last night because of a gust of wind. But overall, they have pretty good weather. It doesn't really go below 10 degrees. But the ocean is a different story. That water is freezing cold. I did not even dip my toes in it. I could not bear. It was absolutely freezing. And I went at the end of summer when generally water would be the warmest somewhere, and it was still unswimmable. So if you are someone that enjoys the ocean and you enjoy being in the ocean, unless your body can bear really cold temperatures, that's not going to be possible for you to swim in this water. I also found a lot of the tourist attractions and things to do in Cape Town were just so overcrowded that I didn't even want to do them, because you're literally queuing for like 2 hours just to get to the top of Table Mountain. And honestly, to me, that isn't worth it. And then you need to queue to get back down. If you're someone who prioritizes a healthy lifestyle and being outdoors, I think Cape Town could be a really good option for you. Especially if you have a remote job and you're earning US dollar or British pounds, it'll definitely go a long way in Cape Town and you'll be able to live a pretty good lifestyle there. It's pricey, but worth it for a lot of people. The next option is choosing somewhere along the garden route. This includes somewhere like Knysna, Plettenberg Bay, Mossel Bay. There's a lot of smaller cities along the coastline, and a lot of them are very safe and very beautiful. And it was definitely a slower pace on the garden route. I found definitely it wasn't the hustle bustle city life, and I really appreciated that. And then you still had the coastline, you had mountains, you had oceans, and I really loved it there. I think this is a great place to choose in South Africa, especially if you're looking for safety and comfort, which is something that I prioritize in my life. The garden route is amazing. Me personally, my favorite was Mossel Bay. I really loved it there, and you could feel the sense of safety there. You'd go to a plaza and there's like teenagers walking around the streets, and you're like, okay, well, if people are allowing their kids to be out in these plazas and walking around, they're obviously not that unsafe. And sometimes when you go places in South Africa, you see it's totally empty, there's nobody there, and then it kind of just gives that feel of like, why is there nobody on the street? Clearly it's unsafe. Another good option, as I mentioned on the garden route, is Plettenberg Bay. It honestly felt so bougie and luxurious to me. I couldn't believe it when I first got to Plettenberg Bay. I was like, what is this place? It did not feel like South Africa. It literally felt like a little strip in LA, to be honest. We stayed in a beautiful oceanfront hotel, and I just really loved it there. I think it would probably be a really good place to settle if you were choosing somewhere in South Africa. It's also definitely a lot more affordable than Cape Town. I would say rent in Knysna is anywhere from 8,000 Rand to 20,000 Rand per month, which is pretty good if you are earning a foreign income. In terms of working and actually finding a job in those places, it's extremely difficult, and there's very low opportunities as these are very small cities and they don't have an abundance of job opportunities. You also definitely need a car while you're along the garden route, as there's not accessible transport. I found going out to eat and also groceries to be a little bit cheaper along the garden route. And mind you, I was there in busy season, so these were the higher end of the prices. It gets even cheaper in the winter months when there's not a lot of tourists there. So this is a good option financially, the garden route, as well as location-wise, it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. Most of these cities have ocean and mountains as well. Was very much like a small town feel, but obviously at the end of the day, precautions still apply. You still are in South Africa, and you don't want to just kind of forget everything and forget about your awareness. Definitely still stay aware in these places, even though it's way less likely that something is going to happen to you here. The garden route definitely has one of the more temperate climates in South Africa. They get rain year-round, and it definitely creates a very lush and beautiful environment. They have warm summers and pretty cool winters, so I think that the temperature along the garden route is pretty decent. There is also so much to do. You can do whale watching, you can do bungee jumping, you can do kayaking, you can do zip lining. There are literally a million activities along the garden route, as it is a huge travel destination. Many of these activities are reasonably priced, and they're also not overcrowded. So I really enjoyed doing the activities along the garden route, as a lot of the time you literally felt like you were on these tours by yourself. It was absolutely incredible. So the garden route is great for people with remote income, maybe if you're a retiree, or you just enjoy a slower pace of living. But it can definitely feel a little bit isolating if you're someone who craves city energy and you like to have access to everything, as there's not going to be access to absolutely everything along the garden route, as these are definitely much smaller cities than Cape Town and Johannesburg. And the final place I'm going to talk about is Port Elizabeth. This is where I personally choose to live. Port Elizabeth is called the Friendly City, and it's for a reason. Honestly, everyone has been really nice here. It's also known as the Windy City. The weather is a bit crazy, but it's definitely doable. Honestly, Port Elizabeth is often overlooked by people, but I just think it was such a good balance. It's not as big of a city as Cape Town or Johannesburg, but it's not as small as the cities along the Garden Route. So you get a nice access to everything. There's tons of restaurants, there's tons of things to do, and it's not overcrowded and it's not overpriced, which I absolutely love. I definitely think it's the most affordable of all the major cities, with rent ranging from anywhere from 7,000 Rand to 15,000 Rand. And these are in pretty decent areas. Also, the day-to-day life is noticeably cheaper. Definitely groceries are a lot cheaper here in Port Elizabeth, and different things as well. Going out to eat is cheaper. When I go to the shops and buy things, I find them to be cheaper. It definitely is gonna be a better value for your money here in Port Elizabeth. In terms of safety, I feel that Port Elizabeth is very safe in specific areas. I've been here for about 4 months now and nothing bad has happened to me. I'm really enjoying the city and being able to venture out on my own as a female. Yes, I need to be safe, and yes, there are areas that I avoid, but if you stick along the coast in Port Elizabeth, you're generally safe. I live a little bit farther out, so I live more in nature and there's not a lot of people around, and it feels very safe here. But I have done errands in different parts of the cities and I felt extremely uncomfortable. So you just kind of need to know where to avoid and where not to go here in Port Elizabeth, and you'll be totally fine. In terms of weather, it was an amazing and hot summer here. It's getting a little bit colder now that we reached to winter. We've had days that have been like 16 degrees Celsius, which is cold for me after living in the Caribbean for the last 7 years. But if you're prepared, and especially if your body's adjusted to this climate, you'll be totally fine. It is absolutely so beautiful here in Port Elizabeth, especially in Seaview and Maitlands. You're literally on the ocean. There's huge sand dunes, there's mountains. It is so stunning. Whenever I'm bored, I literally go take a drive out there. It's about 10 minutes from where I live. And I can tell you this is so beautiful. Unfortunately, again, here in PE, the water is too cold for me, so I don't get to enjoy actually swimming in the ocean, but I get to look at it, which I feel grateful for. PE also has its own game reserve, the Krakakama Game Reserve, and it's just 45 minutes from Addo National Park as well, which has the Big Five. A lot of people take advantage of the wind. People are kite surfing and regular surfing here. A lot of people do go in the water as well. Like, I have seen people swimming. Just me personally, I'm not gonna jump in there. It is too cold. I'm used to 25-degree water, and I'm sorry, I'm just never going back to cold water. But I think that Port Elizabeth is a great option if you want a real experience of South Africa without the hecticness of crazy cities like Cape Town and Johannesburg. It's super underrated for remote workers. It gets a mix of coastline, mountains, and all this beauty at a reasonable price. So I really hope that this video helped you decide where could be a good place for you to live. Leave a comment down below if you do plan to move to South Africa or you're just thinking about it, and let me know which is your favorite place here in South Africa. Thank you so much for watching my video and supporting my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It's so greatly appreciated.